accurate. Live from WDTN, this is 2 News First at 6.
Across the country, Americans continue to mourn the death of Ronald Reagan as officials announce plans for his funeral later this week. And our team coverage continues at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where local residents remember the former president. And good evening, I'm Dan Spieler. First at 6, flags across the country remain at half-staff tonight as Americans continue to mourn the passing of former President Ronald Reagan. The nation's 40th president died Saturday at the age of 93. He'd been out of the public eye in recent years as he fought Alzheimer's disease. Today, a family spokesperson announced plans on just how they will lay the fallen president to rest in a state funeral this coming Friday. Tonight, we begin our live team coverage with Carla Wall. She is live in Simi Valley, California with the very latest. Carla?
They are anticipating large crowds here at the Presidential Library beginning around noon tomorrow and throughout the night when the public is invited in to pay their last respects to President Reagan. President Reagan died surrounded by his family. President Reagan died surrounded by his family. It was, says his chief of staff, a very private moment.
I can tell you most certainly that while it is an extremely sad time for Mrs. Reagan, there's definitely a sense of relief that he is no longer suffering and that he has gone to a better place.
Joanne Drake says Nancy Reagan is grateful for the condolences pouring in from around the world and for the memorials that have sprung up outside the mortuary and the Presidential Library. One well-wisher even left a jar of jelly beans, Ronald Reagan's favorite treat. The tributes come from across the political spectrum.
My family was a big Jimmy Carter kind of family, but he had a pretty profound effect on me, my family, and all of us, I think.
Monday, the public will begin to pay their respects in person, filing past the closed coffin at the Presidential Library before it is flown to Washington, D.C. on Wednesday. The president will lie in state in the Capitol Rotunda until the funeral Friday.
President Bush will be speaking at the National Cathedral at the state service on Friday.
It will be the first state funeral since former President Nixon was laid to rest in 1994. A funeral, Drake says, the Reagans have been planning since 1981. She says it was important to Ronald Reagan that the public on both coasts be given a chance to participate.
He was an extraordinary man, and I feel honored that my children had a chance to meet him. I know his legacy will carry this country far, far into the future.
President Reagan will be buried back here at the library in a private sunset service on Friday. It has been declared a national day of mourning. Reporting live in Simi Valley, I'm Carla Bowl, ABC News. Back to you.
Thank you, Carla. And as America mourns the death of Ronald Reagan, many people here in the Miami Valley are visiting a unique piece of presidential history here in our area. Christy Peel is live at the Air Force Museum with the story. Christy?
Well, then here at the museum, you can see that the flag is at half-staff. Of course, that's to honor President Ronald Reagan. Now, when people think about Reagan, they think about him being an actor and, of course, being the president, but few people know about his military career. You can see and read all about it here at the museum. Reagan became a reservist back in 1937. He actually interrupted his acting career to go on active duty after the attack on Pearl Harbor. The overcoat he wore and other pieces of Reagan's military memorabilia are on display in the Air Power Gallery as part of the Celebrities in Uniform section at the museum to a group of kids who were visiting that display today.
Well, it's pretty cool, and it's really green, and I didn't know his stuff was this famous here about him. It's pretty cool because my dad said that he was a really good president.
Back here now live at the museum, you're looking at some of the aircraft that are actually outside of the hangars at the museum. There's also a presidential plane section that we can't show you. That's actually on base. You need some special clearance to get in there. But if you visit the museum, you can walk through those planes. And one of the planes is a plane that President Reagan used when he was president back in the 80s. His actual Air Force One is at his library in California. The library, or when the museum here is open, of course, the staff can take you back there, show you that plane, and also show you his overcoat and some of his war memorabilia. Reporting live in Dayton, Christy Peel, 2 News First.
All right, I'm sure looking next few days. Thanks, Christy. ABC News.